Good afternoon. Hey, what's up? This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals in lovely Lauderdale by the Sea. Beautiful day out there. Looks like it's going to be a sunny and cool day. Man, I'm still loving this cool weather. Look at that. 60 degrees, man. This is Florida. This is what I love about Florida this time of year. No less, we're going to get into our second season of the year, which is hot. We only have two seasons, semi-cool and hot. Well, let's take a look and see what's happening here. Markets at gold and silver squeeze. You know, I don't know why they're just doing at silver squeeze, because gold can be squeezed quite easily too. And it's pretty apparent. You know, even though the silver is much smaller market, the gold market isn't that much bigger, comparatively speaking, to Wall Street, equities, bonds, that whole other market. I think gold and silver combined don't even represent 0.01% of Wall Street money in the slightest. I kind of made that up a little bit, but if you get my point, it's far less than 1%. Gold and silver don't even make up 1%. And again, far less than that of total market out there, total market share of monies. Let's take a look at zero hedge real quick. I'm going to start out with ZH. Not too much in the gold and silver news, but what we do have here is a lot of news that might affect gold. And I'm not going to go through gold and silver. I'm not going to go through each story one by one, again, because they don't have a direct relationship with the price of precious metals. But some of these things do have effects on precious metals. And again, I'm trying to encourage you to read ZH, not because I get paid for them, not because I think they're the best in the world, just because they offer different narratives. You don't get a single worldview like you do from all the other corporate media. So let's take a quick look at their, and I'm going to show you something about that too. I want to make a point out. And again, speaking of corporate narrative, here's something that's interesting at Silver Squeeze, and we'll get to that in a moment here. Let's take a look at the articles here first. So I get a little confused there whether I should pop over to what I wanted to show you or do this first, and we'll do this first. Suez traffic to resume as blocking ship partially moved. Now, what does that have to do with price of gold? Well, can you imagine if that ship had to be cut up to pieces and all of a sudden oil just stopped flowing through the Suez Canal? Would that have an effect on gold and silver? Yeah, probably the rest of the world too. For a short period of time, it would probably cause oil to spike up. Merkel cancels Easter lockdown amid backlash from furious Germans. I don't know what that has to do with gold and silver and precious metals, but it's nice to see people kind of fighting back and hitting back with the world elite and the world leaders. You know, who runs the show? They do or we do? You got to ask yourself that question sometimes. Durable good orders unexpectedly tumble in February. That's not good for the economy, U.S. economy. Well, gosh, I could read every one of these articles, but again, not too much here to talk about as far as gold and silver goes. Again, if you see anything here you'd like to read, you can read ZH for free. But again, not a lot on precious metals today. Here's a gentleman that I've known for quite some time. I'm friends with him on Facebook as well. And he wrote this article here. Oh, where is this? Let me see if I can cut that down a little bit. How he stumbled off the edge of the cliff. And where is his of two minds? That's the name of the site here. But where is Charles's link up here? I don't see it. Oh, here no there. Let's take a read of this real quick. How we stumbled to the edge of the cliff. Now that we're teetering on the edge of the cliff, it might be a good idea to retrace how we stumbled down this crumbling, precarious ledge. As I've discussed for the past 15 years, there's a handful of systematic forces that have taken us to the point of no return. Number one, demographics have reversed from tailwinds to headwinds. All sorts of extravagant promises could be made back when there were 10 workers paying taxes to support each retiree and state dependent. This is a very important fact that I've been talking about here. They're spending willy-nilly. There's no taxes to support this. Where are they going to get the money? They're going to just print it out of thin air. That's going to destroy the value of the dollar, and it already has, amongst a few other things that Washington, D.C. and world leaders are doing to destroy our currency and destroy our countries. Now that we're down to less than 2 full-time workers for each retiree state dependent, the promises are impossible to keep, with the one exception of printing trillions of dollars that were anticipated to be paid in the taxes. That is, creating near infinite sums of funny money out of thin air and hoping that the rest of the world will continue to accept it. And they're not. I'm going to get into a little article here about China and Russia, but the reason China and Russia want to get away from the U.S. dollar is because we have weaponized it. The worst frickin' thing we could have done with the U.S. dollar is weaponize the U.S. dollar. Why? Because because it gets to some point where these countries say, you know what, we don't need it. We'll create our own means of trade. We'll create our own fiat currency. We don't need the U.S. dollar. And that's what we're seeing happening now. History doesn't have any examples of that working, but hey, we're special, and this time it's different. The fuel of post-war prosperity, oil, is no longer cheap enough or abundant enough. A great many people are delighted to put their faith in renewables, actually replaceables, as Nate Higgins has described. But you know, we are. That's it, pretty much. We are at the end of cheap oil. Cheap oil was $2 gas. Cheap oil was, $2 high test. That was cheap oil. And we had it for decades and decades and decades. You know, over a decade ago, while we were paying $2 a gallon for gas, Europe was paying $5 and $6 a gallon for gas. So United States, we've had the luxury of living on cheap gas for a long time. Well, that's no more, folks. Cheap gas is gone. And with cheap gas, and again, we talked about this yesterday, the commodity boom that we're going to start seeing. And gasoline and oil is a commodity. So I think we're going to see a big boom in commodities across the board. For all kinds of different metals, from gold, silver to copper, to strategic metals, uranium, and all this stuff, including plastics and oil. We're going to see a huge boom in that market. However, it will not be good for inflation, and this is what the Fed and world leaders are trying to do. They're trying to keep this commodity booms from taking off. And gold and silver is a good commodity. I mean, it's one of the leading commodities out there. So if they can keep the price of gold and silver down, they can keep a lot of other commodities down as well, I think, to some degree. But no less, that's what we see here is the end of cheap oil, and we're going to see major inflation in the United States here pretty soon. Gold and silver react very well to major inflation. Will you get rich on gold and silver in major inflation? No, you're not going to get rich. So if you think you're buying gold and silver to get rich while everyone else gets poor, that's really not how it's going to work. What will happen, more than likely is going to happen, is you'll maintain your ability, your buying power. You'll maintain the amount of dollars that you have. You'll have more dollars than most people will because you held gold and silver. But you in a high inflationary environment, don't forget, even though your gold may go up to $3,000 an ounce, whatever it may be, the higher, probably the worse the scenario is for inflation. But the higher the price of gold goes, the higher the price of food goes, the higher price of everything else is going to go with it. So again, this is the balancing act. This is what the Fed and central banks have been trying to prevent for years. But at some point, it's going to be game over. The balance between labor and capital has collapsed. $50 trillion in American has been transferred in earnings has been transferred to the financial aristocracy. I can't pronounce it. From the bottom 90% of American households over the past 45 years. Sorry, I had a brain fart there, folks. This is the reality that must be obscured by any means available. But alas, there's data and facts, trends in income from 1975 to 2018. Well, I'm not going to get into that right there and click that link. You can if you'd like to. The status quo response to stagnation was to push financialization and globalization, and that's what we got going on right now. Let's get into point number 4. The nation's leadership elite no longer trusts the citizens. And I was going to botch that word too. That's why I said I need another sip of coffee. Hang on one second here. Oh. Sorry about that, folks. The nation's leadership no longer trusts the citizens of the United States or of the world. And I think really that could be written the opposite way. The citizens of the world no longer trust the nation's elite and no longer trust their politicians, and the citizens no longer trust central banks, corporations, social media. So, I mean, we got some big issues going here. That's, on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as trust goes, and 10 being the most trustful and 1 being the least trustful. I think we're like at a 3 on a national level and maybe a 4 on a global level as far as distrust go. And we're getting close to that 1 point of no trust at all. I'm at a 2. Number 5, the central bank's magic does not work forever. If you look at the fine print on the bottom of the Federal Reserve's magic lamp, it warns that lowering interest rates stops working when the rate is 0. and that creating trillions out of thin air and giving it to banks, cartels, and super wealthy financiers only works to inflate speculative assets, bubbles for 20 years, and that's what it's done. So let's take a look. 2000 plus 20 equal 2020. So we get 20 years here of bubbles that the Fed has created by endlessly printing money. They screwed it up, folks. They screwed it up big time. And 2008 was just the last path to hell. When they finally just decided to bail everyone out instead of letting the country and the banks and the Fed, instead of letting all these corporations, these big financial institutions that made poor decisions, and the governments that made poor decisions, instead of letting them fail and be reinvented, or let them fail and be rebuilt from scratch, maybe on a stronger foundation and a stronger base. What did the central banks and the Fed do? They bailed these idiots out. They bailed these moronic politicians out. They bailed these moronic corporations and financial institutions out with our money and our lives. That's how they did it, folks. And this round, they gave us a little bit. They gave us $1,400, and what they give us, a couple grand last year. That's payoff. That's shush money. Give me a break. They gave most of the money to their friends and to other corporations and to state buddies of theirs. The stimulus check is just a hush money, and it's nothing. It's cheap crap compared to what they've actually done to the future of most of these people. Anyways, I'm not going to go there. I already did. So the central bank's magic does not work forever. And just a thought, but removing the blindfold might be a good idea here. The edge is crumbling and the bottom is a long way down. Pretty good article here. I like reading his articles. And I forgot Charles's last name. It's pretty embarrassing. I was going to say it, but he's been writing stuff for a long time. And where the heck is the link for this? That kind of just blows my mind. I wanted to show you the link for his stuff here, and I don't see it. It's usually at the top of the page. Well, anyway, let's move along to the what the Fed's got going on here. It's game over. Insert coins to continue, except the Fed is going to run out of coins here. In fact, they did run out of coins. They're just well, actually, no, they can make as many as they want. So let's move along to gata.org. This should be on your bookmark at the top of the page here. Always good articles, and it's free to read. We're going to read this here real quickly. When allocated becomes unavailable, or when unallocated becomes unavailable. But not too much here new in articles. Again, make sure gata.org is on your bookmark, and you read these articles once a week. It'll save me from having to read you the entire articles, and it'll make you a smarter bear, smarter than the average bear, I should say. IMF considers issuing $650 billion in reserves, and that's because I think they're anticipating a lot of smaller countries are having major issues with all these shutdowns and may default. So IMF is going to go in there with $650 billion, probably a lot more. That's just what they're telling us, probably trillions of dollars, and they're going to go in there and bail out these countries that made bad decisions. Something we were just talking about a second ago. Here is the real kicker, folks. This is what I was talking about earlier, and I've been talking about this for a year now when this was going to happen. We've talked about the Bretton Woods Agreement so many times that I'm not going to go into it again. Most of you people that have watched this video, watch my videos here, know all about the Bretton Woods Agreement. If you don't, you need to type in the word Bretton Agreement, the Bretton Agreement, BRETTON agreement. So type in Bretton Agreement and you can read about what that was. More or less, the United States said that we would be the world reserve currency, we would be the top dog, and we'd be responsible with printing money. We wouldn't just destroy the currency. So the whole world went along with this. Our dollar was even enjoyed in Russia. Most Russians love to have U.S. dollars rather than rubles. Venezuela, they'd rather have dollars. Chinese would rather have dollars than their own currency at one time. But what happened was the United States started weaponizing the dollar. Besides the fact that we broke our promises, during the 1960s when we went to war in Vietnam and we started having to pay for these wars, and we started spending a lot of money in D.C. France was the first country to say, "Whoa, wait a moment, United States. You said you'd be responsible with the money," and you're not being responsible. So France actually asked for their gold back, and then other countries started asking for their gold back. And Nixon figured, well, if I don't close this gold window soon, we're not going to have any gold left. So Nixon basically ended the Bretton Woods agreement. Woods, not just the Bretton agreement, it's Bretton Woods, WOODS, the Bretton Woods agreement. Nixon ended it more or less by taking us completely off the gold standard. And at the time, he had made the comment that we're all Keynesians now. So more or less, he said we were just going to borrow and print money for the rest of, the remainder of our lives there. And that's kind of where we're at today. But besides that fact, the dollar was already not stuck, but the dollar was already the world reserve currency. Again, our enemies at the time, in Vietnam even, they were using U.S. dollars to buy stuff. It was more valuable than their currency. So even our enemies for the last 50 years, countries that we went to war with, Iraq, Iran, all used dollars. And then what we decided to do, some brilliant people in Washington, D.C. decided not only do we come off the gold standard, but let's piss everybody off and make them lead the dollar, kind of where we're at right now. So what do we do with countries we didn't like Venezuela? We used the dollar as a weapon. We took away their dollars. We made it so they couldn't use dollars. We weaponized the dollar more or less. And what happens when you do that? Well, these people eventually figure out, like Russia and China has been for quite some time, that at some point we are going to cut them completely off of U.S. dollars, and it's going to break them, and they're going to have big issues. So what has China and Russia been doing for the last couple decades? Well, they've been slowly getting away from the dollar because they know that any moment the U.S. could say, screw you, you can't have any dollars, and that would starve their people. So they're basically getting out of the dollar business. But the problem is that hurts us in the United States. There was a big advantage to us having being the world currencies. There's a big advantage to that, and that's where most of our country's wealth came from. So basically what they did is, by weaponizing the dollar, by the corporate and financial and government elite weaponizing the dollar against a lot of these countries, they stepped on our dick, folks. That's exactly what they did. No less, Russia's top diplomat starts China with visit to reduce dollar use. And trust me, this has been going on for decades. At some point, they're not even going to be interested in using the dollar at all, unless they're trading their currencies for it. Good article here by Sprott Money. When allocated becomes unavailable. Again, type in this on a Google search, and you'll actually, it's in the Gotta search engine here. Where is it? Right there, top of the page. So just hit that link. It'll take you to this article. I'm going to read this real quickly because it's starting to happen right now. The defaults are starting to happen. If you notice, I put the at silver or at gold and silver squeeze at the beginning of this, and that was mostly because of this article right here. The only way that these ETFs, SLV, GLD, and COMEX market and all these paper markets are going to stop wagging the dog, because they are the tail, physical is the dog, is when people start getting brighter and smarter with ETFs. And how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to do it through people like me and people like you, and we're going to tell people, listen, do you own SLV, GLD, or one of these paper ETFs, or a COMEX contract, or even a Perth allocated account, which we're going to get into, and remind people that these are terrible investments. They're fake gold and silver, and this is my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of people that are even smarter than me. So these are not real gold and silver products. These are just paper products leveraged 100 to 1. And here's a deal you got with Sprott right now. With the Perth Mint. Apparently, the Perth Mint has kind of defaulted. An allocated account on gold and silver, on any kind of account, means that allocated means that it has your name on it. There's serial numbers on it, and say, for example, I'm going to use the serial numbers 7777. So the serial number 7777 says that 777 bar or whatever product is belongs to Brian Kuzma or John Smith. That's allocated. Unallocated means when your metal is put into a pool with other people's metal, and you don't have a serial number to that. And if that unallocated pool, something happens to it, you lose everything. I've already been through it once with a refiner, so I know all about allocated and unallocated accounts. But no less, it looks like Perth Mint, one of the largest mints in the world, has kind of defaulted on delivering silver. silver market manipulation, we're not going to get into that. LMB in discussions with JP Morgan following fraud incident. We've known about that for quite some time. Here. Right here, there's a little Twitter down here breaking. The past 24 hours, I've been told a horror story after horror story from Perth Mint clients. Clients with synthetic positions, which means paper positions, are standing for delivery, converting to allocated, and they have been told that there is no silver. Perth Mint has defaulted. And again, this is what I'm talking about with SLV, GLD. At some point, I believe that's the case, and it's going to happen with Comex in London as well. So, I mean, if you have SLV, GLD, I have a couple recommendations. Either get out of it or demand delivery and see if you can get your product delivered. So there is some truth. Perth Mint has defaulted right now, and they're told there is no silver. Now, chances are that Perth Mint clients have the unallocated accounts. Unless Perth Mint goes bankrupt, which I can't see happening, they will get their metals at some point. But meanwhile, this is a wake-up call, folks, that these paper gold and silver products, they're worthless. And again, that's my opinion. Good article here. Make sure you read when unallocated becomes available. And you know, I was talking about earlier about Zero Hedge, about different narratives, okay, and how that ZH is one of the news hubs or hubs that presents different thoughts, different narratives, and different opinions. Unlike Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, CNBC, they have different opinions. So, but the interesting thing is the corporate media. I went to look for the Perth Mint defaulting on their silver right here, or the problems with the Perth Mint. And of course I typed in under DuckDuckGo because it's a private search engine and I like them way better than the other ones. I typed in Perth Mint defaults on delivery, and of course we got all the different Reddit chatter, Reddit coming up. Well, Perth Mint would come up, of course. Reddit, Perth Mint bullion, again explaining nothing about what's going on. Mostly just Reddit talking about this, and some of the tweets that I've been seeing out there. I don't know who Yuri Manthis is. Let's take a click there. Perth Mint defaulting on silver liabilities. It looks like a video guy, a YouTuber too. And anyway, lots of discussion out there on the internet about Perth Mint defaulting. But take a look at this. Hit the news here, and DuckDuckGo and all these search engines consider news, you know, the big corporate news people. That's mostly who they print. But take a look here. Not a single mention under the news site of Australia, Perth Mint defaulting or starting to default on a silver, on unallocated accounts. Not a single report on that. I find that a bit odd, don't you? No less. That's why I like watching ZH and looking at alternative sites. And I'm smart enough to try to figure it out myself, and I think you are as well. So I do want to make one point here, that if you're in gold and silver and platinum and you've been in it for a while, I've seen a couple people in comments making comments that it hasn't happened fast enough. I've owned silver since last year and it's down. Oh, I'm gonna, you know what? It's more of a long game, folks. You know, gold and silver is not about getting rich quick. It is about preservation of your wealth, preserving your wealth. There's other ways to get rich quick, and that includes Bitcoin and going to casinos. But gold and silver is not a get rich quick scheme. It is a maintain your wealth, and you can make a lot of money in gold and silver as well. Don't get me wrong, but you have to look at it as a long game. You also have to look at it as a preservation of wealth. If you get rich off it, great. But the problem is, if you get rich off gold and silver real quick, chances are inflation is going to be rearing its ugly head shortly thereafter. So remember I said that. Again, wealth preservation is just as important as getting rich. Once you made the money, you have to preserve it as well. So gold and silver is all about the long game, and you should always have some of your money into gold and silver, even after you make a lot of money. Again, it's about wealth preservation. Let's take a look at spot prices here, maintaining itself well, even when, we had the whole discussion yesterday on 10-year Treasury rates, and how we're told by the so-called experts on CNBC and on Bloomberg and all these different TV media financial channels and financial newspapers about, Treasury, rising Treasury yields will absolutely kill the price of gold and silver. Yesterday, I proved that is bullshit, total bullshit. So next time you hear someone say that on television, even if he's wearing a suit and been to Harvard, just look at him and know what an idiot he is to make that statement. He has no clue what he's talking about. And I find that to be true with most people on gold, silver, and platinum in the corporate media world. They have no frickin' clue what they're talking about. let's take a look at here. And again, watch yesterday's show if you missed it, and you'll get a good idea what I'm talking about. Markets are holding up real nice. Gold's holding up in that above $1,700 range. So, I think temporarily, and maybe permanently, but at least temporarily, I think the monkey hammer is over. I think they kind of used up all their bullets, and they're out there trying to create some more bullets to knock the markets down. But, despite the fact that gold got really monkey hammered since the last, in the last 6 months, from $2,100 high or thereabouts to $1,700 where it's at right now, silver has done extremely well. And the reason I think that silver's done better than gold is because of this at short squeeze thing and the amount of physical silver being purchased out there. But as we have been noticing, that short squeeze is carrying over into gold as well. People are buying gold products as well. I think if the short squeeze attention was paid, if we paid just as much attention to gold on a short squeeze and buying physical gold as we did silver, I believe gold would be a couple $100 higher. And the other truth of the matter is it probably really is a couple $100 higher because these are just paper prices right here. They're ridiculous paper prices. Gold eagles are still plus $200 over. And why are they plus $200 over for a stupid gold eagle, American gold eagle? It's because they can't get the frickin' gold. Why can't you get the frickin' gold? Because real gold is not out there. There's plenty of paper. And if real gold is not out there, why is it $1,700? Well, it's not $1,700. If you want to buy a piece of paper, you can buy a piece of paper for $1,700, but if you want to buy a U.S. mint-made gold American Eagle, you're going to pay $1,932. So you're going to pay $200 more for the real product, and that makes sense to me. So these prices that we see up here are just bullshit paper prices. Same thing with silver. And again, I always talk about the tail wagging the dog. The tail is the paper prices. The dog is physical. It's real metal. And we still have the case of, as you can see here, the tail wagging the dog. But not really. The dog's fighting back, and that's why premiums are $200 over in gold, and that's why silver has got a $4 to $8 or $4 to $10 premium. So these prices you see here are just bullshit paper prices, folks. Sorry, said it enough times. I'm sure I got my point across. Same thing with platinum, although I think platinum is less monkey hammered than the other metals. I think platinum is super cheap and still a great buy, and the premium's not too bad on them. Let's take a look here. I'm guessing that we're going to see this kind of, unless we see some major monkey hammer in tomorrow and treasury strength just go, treasuries go up to a little bit higher. Remember, they can't let treasuries 10-year treasuries get much higher than where they are right now. Otherwise, the interest on the national debt will be too much to pay. The stock market will take a shit. The housing market will take a shit because if they raise the rates too high, those markets are just going to die, and they can't afford to do that. So we could see a little higher rates, and it may knock gold and silver down a little bit and keep the market tepid for a little while, but it won't last long, folks. Trust me on this. Just keep buying the physical. Get rid of your paper gold and your paper silver, and tell everyone the same thing Get rid of your paper shit, buy the real stuff. And we are in a commodity boom, I believe. Well, I want to take a look at yesterday's videos here real quick, and answer some of the comments from yesterday. Commercial rare coins, there we go. Yesterday's report was buy, sell, or hold, and we talked about treasury yields as well. Here, let me stop that video from moving. Let's take a look at some of the comments that I've got here. Chris Lunda says bond yields go up, silver goes down, bond yields go down, silver goes down. I think if you watch this show I just did, Chris, you'll find out that's exactly kind of what we're talking about. We're on the same page here, but don't get discouraged. This is all about the long game. And what is not in the historical track record is that I brought up gold has a 5,000-year historical track record, and you brought up here that what is not in the historical track record is that banks now have unprecedented control over the silver market. I guess historically, maybe the Romans minted coins, and they debased their currency. The decline of the Roman Empire. Some people compare the United States to the Roman Empire to some degree. I mean, we are an empire. What happened was Rome started making silver coins. Their people owned silver coins. They used gold and silver and bronze coins to trade with each other. And then when Rome started going broke, they started putting silver coating over their bronze coins. So exactly what we did. You remember when we had silver coins in before 1970, and then all of a sudden our government started making coins that look silver coated, but they're not silver at all. Rome did the same thing. The Romans did the same thing. So no, this is not new, sir. What it is in the historical track record that banks and countries could print as much money as they want, and they could control the price of gold and silver. It's happened many times over history, and it's still happening today. But then they lose control over it, and stuff just goes crazy. And sadly, anyone predicting $50 silver is pipe dreaming while wearing rose-colored glasses. Well, sir, I would like to make you a wager on that, Mr. Lunda. I think we're on the same page on most everything. I just think you're kind of a little discouraged because it hasn't moved as fast as you would like it to move, and the things haven't happened as fast as you'd like them to move. I was thinking in 2008 that the shit was going to hit the wall within the next 4 or 6 years, but I underestimated how much they can print. But again, they can only print so much, rates can only go so high, and the shit is going to hit the fan. So that $50 silver, one day you are going to be dreaming about $50 silver, Mr. Lunda, and that is my opinion. Hey, thanks for watching too, Chris, and I really do appreciate your comment. Let's take a look at, hey, hello, sir. DDS card, looper stacker, until I can't stack no more. That's great, sir. Stay away from that paper crap and keep stacking. And let your friends know that's all that paper is just crap. And teach them how to stack as well. If you turn them on my videos, I'll help them out too. Mark Pedri, my dad just gave me 2 Morgan silver dollars. Very, very cool. 1887, 1890. And some bicentennial $2 bills. Well, unfortunately, as cool as the $2 bills are, they're not worth very much. And I'm not trying to be a jerk by telling you that. But, they're kind of novelty items. They're just worth $2 and they decrease in their spending power all the time. In the year 1887, $1890 are pretty cool, made by the U.S. Mint, the same people that make silver eagles today. And depending on the condition, they can be worth just about from anywhere from $40 to $40,000. But no less, pretty cool that you're starting out. Antonio Zappian, what do you think about pulling out a 401k to exchange gold and silver? I'm still young. I don't want my hard-earned money gone. I'm not an advisor, and that is certainly a question I cannot answer, sir. At your age, if you're young, I would say, maybe, again, I can't tell you about closing a 401k. It may be a good idea, maybe a bad idea. I'm not qualified to tell you that. But what I am qualified to tell you at your age, that anything that you put outside your 401k, for example, go buy, keep buying gold and silver products, keep stacking them, keep them in your own possession. There's a lot of advantage of having gold and silver in your own possession, besides the fact that you eliminate third-party risk and you won't get ripped off by some stupid paper product like an ETF someday, or the potential that will happen. So keep buying gold and silver, and keep buying the physical product itself. And that's what I recommend, and I don't think you will ever regret that, sir. Just make sure you store it in a really safe place so it doesn't get stolen. That's the only third-party risk with gold and silver, but I can tell you it is so easy to store and so easy to hide. And that's a subject for another day, and I think I actually did a video in one of my videos, collection down there, on where to store your silver and gold. John, good to see you. In the late 50s, 11, 17 cents a gallon. Yeah, 69 gas was 35 cents a gallon. Look at it now. Well, what we were just talking about, man, the end of cheap oil is done. The end of this country profiting and getting rich off cheap oil is over. I think commodities are going to kick our ass in the next 10 years. Hey, Chris, buy and hold silver because soon enough the physical surplus will be exhausted. Yeah, exactly what we've just been talking about, sir. And hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Sal, loving your channel. I'm loving the fact that you watch it and that people dig what I'm saying. I hope I'm teaching you guys something, because I'm not here to really, I don't want to be like the expert that everyone does what I say. What I'm trying to do is teach you guys how to look up information and teach you the stuff that I've learned all these years so you can do it yourself. You don't need to listen to me. Manvo, love the way you put words across into all your posts. Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's nice that people can understand what I'm saying. Sometimes on these shows I start to think, am I just blabbing? And sometimes I am. I'm just blabbing, so at least that's my opinion. But I'm glad you guys are getting something out of this. Well, that's really about it. This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals in beautiful Lauderdale by the Sea. Call us anytime at 954-493-8811 between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Any questions you may have, or we'll tell you what the deal of the day is. Best products out there are still gold bars and silver bars, in my opinion, and 90% U.S. coin. I wouldn't recommend paying over $5 an ounce for any silver products. There's silver products you can buy out there that are, the premiums are less than $5. If you can pick those up, by all means do it. I don't suggest buying Silver Eagles as much as I love them. At $8 to $10, that's just overpriced, folks, especially when you can pick up stuff for less than a $5 premium. That's what I recommend. Same thing with gold. Buffaloes and gold eagles are in that $200 range. You can buy gold bars right now. At least for now, you can buy them for $90 over. So, don't pay $100 more. For what you're paying for a gold eagle, you can buy a gold bar and 3 ounces of silver. Doesn't make any sense to be paying those huge premiums. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you're new to this show, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and please hit the like button. If you're watching, that helps me too, and it helps the algos and gets me out there a little bit more. Hey, thanks again. If anything crazy happens today, I'll do another video. If not, I will I will do another show, and I just get a little confused there. If anything crazy happens today, I will do another show. If not, I will talk to you tomorrow. Hey, thanks for watching, and have yourself a great day. I really appreciate it.